There we go. So you should be seeing the screen that says AI Toolbox for Counselors, Streamline Support and Safeguard. And the link is go.ncdpi.gov/counselor AI, all lowercase. There's a lot of stuff to click on in there. So make sure you have the link. You can also scan the QR code if you want to bring it up that way. At the very end of the session, there's a link for the template link in Canva so that you can make a copy of it and put it into your Canva account so you have all the slides to go back to and reference later. So, and if you have any questions, go ahead and drop them into the chat, and I'll make sure to check in on the chat every once in a while, and Vera will also give me a shout out if I miss something, if I'm kind of rolling along it and just forget to check. So we're going to go ahead and get started, and let's see, let me click over here and give you a quick glance at the agenda. And our first thing for you to open up in a new tab is the Padlet. I've got a Padlet for school counselors, and that will kind of live in my Padlet account. I'll try not to remix it since, you know, Padlet only gives you so many, but I've been trying to keep our AI webinar Padlets and let them live forever because so much good information is being collected through these Wednesday webinars. So our agenda for today is to learn how generative AI can be supportive of school counseling. So this is a little bit of an overview of AI at the beginning, but then also to look at it specifically for the school counselor role, and then to explore how LLMs, large language models, or our kind of AI direct, this is the way I call ChatGPT and Gemini and all of those commercial AIs, and look at prompting just for the school counseling role, and then to spend a lot of time about at the halfway point to dig into some apps that are really useful for school counselors, and then to share some things about some digital trends that are impacting the school counseling role. So with that said, if you guys would click over here on the school counselor Padlet and jump in there and take a look at my columns, because that first column, I would really love it if you would click a little sticky note in there and look at our agenda, or just kind of as you looked at the description when you registered, and just set a goal or drop a little note about what you're looking forward to learning about in this next hour as we spend it together, so that I have an idea of kind of what the hot topic is that you kind of came here to learn this morning. So I'm going to open that up and make sure that we see that. And the link's in the chat as well. So if you are having trouble with having your tabs all open at the same time and you want to drop a note in the chat, that's fine too. But the Padlet kind of lives forever, so that's a good spot to put your information. So we've got, and for those of you that are watching on the replay, I'm just going to, grab some of these and read them out loud so you kind of get an idea of where everybody's at. We've got, the goal is to have AI make our life easier. And that goal really resonates with me because I feel like AI is one of those tools that is doing what technology has been promising to do for us for such a long time, which is to actually make things faster and more efficient, right? So the minute I got into ChatGPT and started writing really well-crafted prompts, you could just see the potential for AI to do exactly that. Find ways to use AI to support counselors in your area. Love to understand how to incorporate AI into lessons and have students use it. And so, little known fact to those of us who are outside of the counseling area is that school counselors are actually creating lessons and doing them in our classrooms as as a former middle school science teacher, I loved it when my school counselor came in and did those lessons during my Academic Academy time. So yes, definitely using AI tools to make lessons. So all of those things we're going to touch on a little bit today. So we've got this first column for setting a goal and what we're looking forward to. And then I've got another column we're going to come over here. And if you've got tips and tricks that you want to share of the ways you're using AI, definitely drop them in there. Some podcasts maybe that you listen to, we'd love for you to share in the second column. I've got a third column here for sharing about what your top counseling tasks are. This is kind of a brainstorming column, and we'll come back to that when we get to the prompting section, and then when we jump into Magic Schools, School AI, those sorts of things. So feel free to brainstorm there, because we will kind of use that as our repository for getting ideas. And then the fourth column over here is aha moments. So as we go through some of these tools, if something is just like, yes, this is really working, I love that, then add that little aha moment to that column. Feel free to jump into there at any moment. And then my last column there is for questions. So feel free to add questions to the chat, definitely, if that's easier for you. But if you want to add your questions over there in that column too, then we'll be checking in on that part of the Padlet as well. Okay, so that's a quick tour of the Padlet. So let's go back over here to the presentation. And for those of you who don't know me, I'm Stacy Lovedahl. I'm the Western DTL consultant for NCDPI. And before that, I was a instructional technology facilitator for Catawba County Schools, and also on loan to the Digital Teaching and Learning Division. And before that was a middle school science teacher. So for all of you in middle school, give a shout out to our middle school teachers. And let's see, click over here. So next quick little thing I would really love to do is to get some information about who's in the room. So if you would either click on this link up here, that'll take you straight over to the Menti, and or you can go to menti.com and type in this code. Okay, and while you're doing that, I am going to jump over here to my other screen and make sure my Menti is on. I am probably going to have to go to another tab and grab that. And I'll just grab it and drag it over here so you guys don't have to look at me doing all of that in real time. And there we go. So excellent. And I'm going to put this into present mode and put it over here so that everybody can see that. So we have 5 responses so far, so that's awesome. Thank you guys for doing that. And this gives a really cool, good idea of who's here. It helps me, but I think it's also helpful to help us connect and see who's here and where everybody's coming from and what everybody's doing. Thank you guys for doing that. Personalized learning coach in Winston-Salem. So we have middle of the state, all the way out west in the western part of the state. Hey, Haley. We have Burke County, also in the northwest, way out in Asheville, Cabarrus County. Hey, everybody. Okay, so those responses are going to be popping up for a minute. And I am going to go over to the next slide if you're ready. I'm terrible about wait time. Okay, so here's my next question. So I know we have a little bit of kind of preloading here, right? Is how do you use AI? Do you have a favorite AI tool? And if you aren't using AI, feel free to say not using it yet. That's kind of why I'm here. So that's a fair question, right? Or a fair answer. So how are you using AI right now, if you are? Currently don't use it. Okay. Well, by the end of this next, we've got about 50 minutes left. I hope you come away with some ideas of where you're going to jump in. ChatGPT, Magic School, Conmigo for school. I have not been back to Conmigo yet this year. So I used it a little bit last year, so that'll be cool. Would love to, maybe when we have a chance to do some sharing in this next segment, we can talk a little bit more about how you're using that. That one is, I need to dig into that one more. ChatGPT once, Magic School once, great. We're going to revisit some of that.
The link for the
ChatGPT.
not work.
Excellent. We have another Magic School, ChatGPT, Claude, Goblin Tools. Excellent. So we have a couple of pauses in between some of these tools where we'll have a chance to share. So we'd love to hear some, actual ideas of applications of how you're using that. That'll be great. Okay, now I have one more question here for you before we move on to some information. And this is one of my favorite uses of Mentimeter. If you're not a Menti person, it's still pretty free. So they've made some changes over the last 6 months, but still a nice free tool, has some free applications. And I love this one. It has sliders. So you would just give yourself a rating from strongly agree to strongly disagree. So when using LLMs like ChatGPT or Claude or Perplexity, how do you feel? Are you a expert prompt writer, so you strongly agree, or do you feel like you're like middle of the road? I understand how to use educational AIs like Magic School for counseling activities. How do you feel about your agreement with that statement? I understand how to use educational AIs like EduAid for counseling activities. Then I understand how to create chatbots using School AI. And then the last one, are you on the fence about AI and not sure how it applies? And what I love about this one is you can kind of see the sliders working in real time. And then as you hover over them, you kind of get the distribution of responses, which is kind of a cool thing to see. So we have some people who are, in various areas of agreement with ChatGPT or AIs in general, right? And then we have some people are getting started with Magic School, a little bit fewer with EduAid, not very many with School AI. So we'll talk about that today, so you can get some ideas for School AI. And then some people on the fence and more people like yes, kind of yes and. Okay. All right. So guys, thank you very much for doing that. I'm gonna minimize that and we'll get back to our presentation. Okay, so let's dive into kind of where we are with AI in North Carolina. This is a quote from Dr. Wren, our Chief Information Officer for NCDPI, and you can find it right at the beginning of the North Carolina AI guidance that was published in earlier in 2024, and it's a living document. It's being updated in real time because, as you know, artificial intelligence or generative AI is changing all the time. You can go to any of your favorite social medias, and if you're following people like Matt Miller or Holly Clark or the EduGuardians or any of the people that are out there looking at things that are happening in AI and then applying it to the education world, things are happening and changing all of the time. And so in North Carolina, we advocate for the responsible integration of AI technologies into education so that our students can reach their full potential and cultivate a lasting passion for continuous learning, because we know that we're changing all of the time, and to be successful in this ever-changing world, we need to be as educators as up to date as possible so that our students can be too. So you can find out more about that in the North Carolina AI guidance, and it's linked here at the end of the presentation in our resources. So one of the things that I read early on when I got interested in and started learning more about AI was this article from the Harvard Business Review. And this is a kind of a paraphrase of a quote in the very first paragraph of this article from Kareem Lakhani. Now, this article is written from a business and entrepreneurial point of view. But what I love about this is that it is just so applicable to everything, including education. And one of the things that he said was in response to, who should be learning about AI? Who should be applying AI? And his quote in paraphrase was, anywhere where you apply thinking, because AI is one of those technologies, or generative AI is one of those technologies that has broad application to everything. So when we look at school systems, when we look at our schools, our districts, it's not just the technology, the techie-oriented people. It's not just the STEM class. It's not just the content. It's every area of our education system needs to be thinking about and using and playing around with AI to find out how it applies to our particular area. So what I love about the fact that so many of you are here today or are listening on the replay is that you are realizing that artificial intelligence or generative AI is something that is interesting and is applying to your area, and you're willing to give it a try and find out more. So thank you for being here this morning or watching in extra time on the replay, because this is something that the more you find out, the more different ways you find out that it applies to you. So this is another a couple of quotes that every time I read this article, something pops out to me that just seems to be particularly relevant. And so a couple of these quotes from the article just seem to apply to this particular session that we're doing today. And one is when he was talking about his daughter. And so he said, when he looks at his teenage daughter, he realizes that she just has no patience for what she calls old line companies. And I'm thinking that really applies to our students today too, is that when they go outside of school, they live like this whole up-to-date life, right? And when they come inside our school walls, they kind of have expectations. And so when we're learning about AI and how to apply it to our everyday tasks, we're sending the signal that we are there with them too, that we are trying to keep pace with the current technology. The other thing that he said in that article is that even though we're experiencing the tremendous change right now with generative AI, it's just the current wave, but it's not the only wave. The next wave is going to be quantum computing. There are all these other waves behind it. And so this last quote here is the one that is really important, is the best companies, and every time I read company, I just inserted education in there. The best companies will be ones that realize that change is a skill. And what I think there is that if it's a skill, then in education, that's what we do. We teach skills. We teach people how to handle change. So with that being said, let's look at a couple of just things that are so just when I see these numbers. Today's kindergartners are going to graduate in 2037, right? And today's kindergartners are going to, if all things stay the same, begin retiring in 2086. And when you just put that in context, right, if we know that so much change has just been happening in the last couple years with generative AI and technology, then just imagine the world they're going to live in, right? And so I wanted to just sort of set the stage a little bit with, the world they're going to be living in by playing a quick little video call about the future of work, and then we'll dive into some of these tools. So let's see if my sound work. I practiced this beforehand, but I think it will. Give me a thumbs up in the chat if you're hearing it. Yeah, so it blows my mind every time, and I get a little bit. I don't know if it's I get all the feels, right? So, what are some of the takeaways that you get when you watch that video for the first time? We are kind of a small group, so you could unmute if you want to, or if you have some thoughts, type them in the chat. What are your quick reactions when you see that video? So Catherine says it really drives home that we are preparing kids for careers that don't exist yet, and that the current system is for careers that don't exist anymore. Agree so much. We say that A lot of times I've said that in my classes when I was teaching middle school science. And this seeing it on the screen really brings that idea home. Martha says, what will we, the workers, be doing? Exactly. As we look at our jobs changing and we see that incremental change on a daily basis, but then seeing that on the screen in these really, big technological ways, really makes it much more clear. What do you think students would say if they were to see something like that? So I had the chance last spring to teach an AI literacy class to some high school students, and in a couple different high schools. And I played this video for them. And in one of the classes, I overheard one of the students in one of their groups talking about the video, and one of the boys said, "Well, I guess those guys shouldn't have made horseshoes." And it was in response to one of the screens that showed this picture of the Easter parade, and it was just one car. And then the next picture goes to just one horse. And overhearing that, I thought, wow, I should have a response for that. In real time, I just had nothing to say. And a little later on, I was at my brother-in-law's house, and he's a little bit older than I am, and he used to work in Chicago with some machine tool workers, and he came back with a story about a tool and die maker, and he was a metal worker and in his long story short, it was a very long story about the shipbuilding business, and he said, those guys that made horseshoes, they were really experts at metalworking. And the people who worked on those cars have wheels and axles, and they're all made of metal. And so what it comes right down to is they had the skills, they just changed them to work in a new industry. And what that reminded me of was our durable skills and the portrait of a graduate. And going all the way back to Kareem Lakhani's quote, is the best companies or the best educators, the best, we know that change is a skill, right? So I just think all of these stories are connected. So if we want to go back to the Padlet and just kind of capture some of those thoughts, we definitely have some things in the chat going on, and I'm sure you're thinking of some things as well. But some of these things about our top time-consuming tasks and the things that we work on with students on a day-to-day basis, but they are going to have these concerns too. We see them as adults, and I know that they pick up on these kinds of things when we're constantly asking them, what are you going to do? What are you going to be? And they walk into our doors and they see the way school is being run. When I taught middle school science, and I was determined I was going to teach them about cell division, and their question was, Miss Lovedahl, why do we have to learn this? And so we want to make school relevant to them. So how do we kind of connect all of those dots for our students? So one of the first things that we're going to do on the AI side of things is to look at how our favorite AI can help us do some of these things. Now, this is a little tour of ChatGPT, which used to be, way back when, 2 years ago, used to be the first AI that was available. But most AIs that you sign into now have the same features. So if you're using ChatGPT, or if your favorite AI is maybe Gemini or Perplexity or Claude, you're going to see the same kinds of things. When you sign into an AI, you're going to be able to look back at your prompt history so that you can revisit a chat that you maybe had before. You're going to be able to go into your settings and set some settings and customize it to a certain extent. All of your AIs will have an input box where you can customize your prompt, where you can add your prompt. And then you're going to have your chat window where you can see what you've said and then what the AI has given you back as its output. You're going to be able to, one of my favorite things is to create a link so that you can share the entire prompt and the history of the chat with somebody. So what I'd like you guys to get ready to do in just a few minutes is to open up a tab to your favorite AI. It can be ChatGPT or it could be something else, because we're going to practice creating a powerful prompt using the craft framework. One of the things that I've read about recently, especially in in higher education and in K-12 education, is the educational concern about just this availability of generative AI. It was a concern at this time last year, but it especially started to explode second semester last year. And so I think we're going to see it even more this year, is just the availability or the ubiquitousness, if that's a word, of AI, generative AI in basically everything. It's in Google Docs with Help Me Write, if that's turned on in your district. It's in Grammarly. There's Khan Academy and the AI Tutor. It's in Magic Write in Canva. There's just the button is everywhere where you've got this availability of AI in basically everything. So as educators, as school counselors, we're starting to deal with this idea that generative AI is available in everything that we do. So where is the cutoff line between what's okay and what's not okay? And so because of that, it's really important to start knowing the differences between the types of AI that are out there. We've had reactive and predictive AI available to us for a really long time. We've, having Alexa and Roomba and different games, reactive AI isn't anything that is earth-shattering to anybody. Having predictive AI like Netflix and credit scoring systems and Spotify playlist is not something that anybody's been talking about for, and is making news. So the thing that we're all talking about is generative AI. So things like our ChatGPTs and Perplexity and Claude, where you can literally type in some information, type in some words, and it will create new text, new pictures, new songs, from scratch. So what we're talking about today and what's making everybody have to come up with new ideas and new ways of thinking about our teaching and learning is this idea of generative AI. So we're talking about setting some ground rules about what is artificial intelligence. It's because we're looking down here to this area of the artificial intelligence field that is called generative AI. And you can go to a website called AI for Education and find a lot of really good resources for helping people teach and learn about AI that are customized just for educators. So, for example, this one right here, Uncovering Deep Fakes, is really relevant, especially to the counseling role in helping people understand what are deep fakes and how to teach about it and how to understand it. So I can't recommend the AI for Education website enough. So just a little bit more we've heard about ChatGPT, and a lot of people are like, well, what does that GPT stand for? So stands for generative, where it's creating new text, audio, images, video, and even code. Pre-trained means that it's pre-trained on a massive amount of information that the company that has created the AI has scraped from the internet. And then transformer means that it is the way that it transforms that information into how it does what it does. So I'm going to skip through a little bit of this information. You have it for background. One of the things that I wanted to just throw out there to you to think about is that ASCD, ISTE, and the associations of school principals have come up with are these guiding questions for instructional leaders about how instructional leaders can use AI to support students with the skills they need to be successful. So this is all aimed at instructional leaders, and I went and did some research about guiding questions for school counselors. And so these associations are working to come up with guidelines and information for the school counseling role. So there are a lot of great resources out there about this emerging area for AI in the school counseling role. So I wanted to make sure that you had this information in case it wasn't right there at your fingertips. One of the things you need to know, especially with any AI app that you're using with students, is to make sure that you never put personally identifiable information, such as student ID numbers, names, addresses, that sort of information into any app, that any information that you're putting into an app that says it can help you with a behavior plan or guidance for a student, and to make sure all of that information is anonymized, that you read the privacy policy and the terms of service before you allow students to sign into anything. And when in doubt, just check with your technology department to make sure that any questions that you might have about it are answered before you get started. There are some limitations about some of your AIs. One of the big things to remember is that they are not search engines. They're not going to be up to date with the most current information, and each AI is updated with new information at different times, and they're all different. So if you're looking for current events information, it might be best to use a direct internet search or do your research to check and see if your AI it has a direct connection with the internet. Some do and some don't. Another characteristic of AIs is that they all hallucinate to a certain extent. So there are a lot of complex reasons for this, but it is unavoidable. So the best check against hallucinations is the human who is reading the information. So it may sound really good, but you as the human are the best check against what Dan Fitzpatrick, who wrote the AI Classroom, calls plausible sounding random falsehoods. So always double check against hallucinations. So let's take a quick look at prompt crafting. Prompting in AI is more than just writing a quick little sentence into that prompt box, right? It's the process of creating text that can be understood to do exactly what you want your AI to do. A Google search is just a quick sentence. A kind of okay prompt is a little bit more information, but a really effective prompt is going to have you tell your AI what you want it to do, who you're doing it for, and all of the background and context information that your AI needs to know so that it can do the best job it can for you. So this is an example of a really effective prompt. And the way you come up with that is to use a good framework. So there are two things that I want to tell you before we get into a framework. One is this website that I mentioned before, AI for Education, has a lot of really good education prompts, and they have created some specifically for the school counseling role. So if you didn't open it up before, here's a link right over there to AI for Education, and they have a link right here for social emotional learning. It'll take you straight to some great prompts that are written that are already crafted, and there's some examples for school educators or for school counselors. So frameworks are like recipes. You give consistent information and it'll give you back really good results. And this is an example of the Craft Power Prompt Framework. And up here, the context, the role, the audience, the format, and the task and tone are 5 important ingredients that would go into your prompt framework. So on this page right here, slide 29. So if you aren't on slide 29, click forward in the presentation because there is a Google Doc in there, and that will go right into your Google Drive so that you have a copy of this worksheet and you can refer back to it to help you kind of keep a little bit of a step-by-step guide for creating a powerful prompt. So if you click on this, excuse me, it will show you the craft framework at the top. Here's the graphic, and it's also linked out to the Canva slide so that you can click on that and have that in your Canva slide deck. And then a Google worksheet. You can click File, make a copy and put it into your Google Drive if you want to. and then it explains each of the steps. Yes, there's a copy of the Every framework too, and we could drop that link in the either into the chat, or there's also a Wakelet at the end that has a copy of it too. We can show you that, Catherine. So if you were going to use this worksheet for the craft framework, for context, you could provide all of the background information for context, including details about your school or the students that you are writing the prompt for, keeping them anonymous, of course. The ASCA standards for mindsets and behaviors might be part of the background information. Using highly effective research-based strategies, up-to-date information. Tell your AI that you always want it to answer by offering at least 2 solutions, for example. The role that you want it to play, tell it that you're board certified, that it's an expert, tell it about the tone that you want it to have, tell it the audience that you're having it write for, tell it the format that you want it to write the prompt in, write the answer in. Do you want it to be in an essay? Do you want it to be formal? Have it include citations and references. Always check the citations and references to make sure that that they actually exist, that it didn't make them up, and that they're high quality. Sometimes it gives references that, while they're true and and that they exist, they might not be of the highest quality. And then tell it very specifically what the task is that you want it to accomplish. The next few slides give you some more information about the role, the audience, the format, and the task, just kind of breaking that out in a little bit more detail for the craft framework. So you'll have that for your information. And then the last slide in this little series just link you directly out to some of the AIs that you could practice with if you would like to use ChatGPT or some of the other AIs, so that you have that in your slides if you would like to use that for a little bit more deeper comparison of how the different AIs react to the prompts that you're creating. So I want to give a quick little pause here to see if you have any questions or what tasks you would like to you might want to create a prompt for. And if you would like to shout them out in the chat, that would be great, or add them to our Padlet. And I'm going to pop over to the Padlet and just see what's going on over there. Top counseling tasks: social emotional, academic counseling, letters of recommendation, data collection for effective intervention, recommendations, programming flyers, classroom guidance letters, behavior intervention plans. All of those things would be perfect ways to use this craft framework and to create a prompt for. Okay. All right. The next section is to talk about some other tools for your toolbox. And these are apps that have been created especially for K-12 education and the school counseling role. The first one that I would like to talk about is one called Alongside. Has anybody used Alongside or heard about it? Give a thumbs up in the chat or shout out. So I'm going to click on this one and open it up so you can see it. And Alongside is an app that I first became familiar with about maybe 6 or 8 months ago. It is developed specifically to provide mental health resources for students. It's available 24/7. It was designed with privacy and confidentiality in mind, and it was developed with and for clinicians. It has a chat feature, which is designed to be a private space for students to discuss their feelings. It has I'm going to go ahead and log in so you can see kind of how that goes. If you click on that link, it'll take you over to the site. It has this cute little figure there that they call Kiwi. And so it's private space for discussing feelings. Users can just type their feelings in or use prompts that are suggested by Kiwi, and that'll give you advice. It'll let the user just talk about their feelings, or it'll let them just request to have their mood boosted by having a conversation. There are built-in measures for safety and support. There is a trigger for serious mental health issues, self-harm or abuse, where Kiwi will send an alert to school counselors or after-hours support. The user is then automatically sent over through that alert system. There are additional features for journal prompting, for videos that are curated by their clinicians, for health and wellness tracking, and all sorts of other added features. Has anybody used or heard of the Alongside app? I just wonder about that. Now, I have only signed in recently as a user just to kind of play around with it and see what how it works, and just kind of do a quick little tour as a kind of simulating a user. But it looks very user friendly. I know there's one district in North Carolina that tried it out in Cumberland County, and they have a use case on their website that you could explore more. Some of the features that they talk about that are interesting in addition to the chat feature is that it has assistance for developing superpowers for students that they can go through, like working on focus and working on self-compassion. And so I would like to X that out and play this real quick.
It's no secret that the rates of anxiety, depression, trauma, and other serious issues affecting today's youth continue to climb at an alarming rate. But with limited resources and overworked staff, how can schools realistically provide truly comprehensive mental health care for every student in need? Allow me to introduce Kiwi. This charming llama chatbot serves as the mascot for Alongside, an innovative app that supplements the efforts of school mental health teams by offering round-the-clock virtual support to students in their native language. Developed in close consultation with doctoral-level psychologists and clinicians, Kiwi utilizes advanced AI technology to have open-ended conversations with students about the issues they're facing. Through intelligent natural language processing, Kiwi understands the core challenge for each student and provides an empathetic ear combined with proven therapeutic strategies. Additionally, Alongside's expansive internship program ensures that teen voices inform every aspect of the product.
Alongside really focuses on truly getting to the heart of your problem and making you feel very heard and understood. And I think that part of that comes from the amazing team that works behind it. And it's an actual clinical team with therapists and people that are actually educated about psychology. It's an actual person behind that screen making those chats. And as an intern, I even saw that happen. In real life, I got to work on a chat module myself.
In addition to providing personalized chat support, Alongside is a complete self-guided mental health companion, allowing students to track moods.
Okay, so that was a little bit about Alongside, and the question in the chat was, does it cost? Yes, it definitely has a cost associated with it, and I don't have any information about that. Cumberland County has a case study that I linked in the resources at the end. So I just wanted you to be aware of it, and that it was developed especially for mental health support, and the chat is AI assisted, but anything that was triggered that was serious was then diverted directly to their human clinicians and to human resources at the district. So that's how they were handling, kind of an AI human interface. The next one I wanted to talk to you about Well, before I go on to that, besides for the question that was in the chat, are there other questions? Okay. The next one I wanted to talk to you about was Magic School. And Magic School is another one. It has a free side and a paid side. And on the free side, it would be tools for supporting workflow and efficiency. And if you click this link, it will take you over to Magic School, but they're not directly into the site, to a page that they have set up for their tools that support counseling. So they suggest that their most popular tools for counselors are the family email tool, their email response to responder, the restorative reflection generator, and their behavior intervention plan suggestion generator. So we're going to jump over there and take a quick look at Magic School. Some of you mentioned that in the Padlet. So here's their information page, and they have an example generation down here that they can show you. But I'm going to show you a little bit about Magic School and just kind of how it works. So you can see up here that I've got Magic School Enterprise because our district is partnered with them right now, but this would work even if you had the free version. So when you click on Magic School, you would click Login, and up here at the top, you can see there's a purple bar. So that means, but the rest of the screen is gray. So that means you're on the teacher side of it, not the student side. So you have two little levers up here. So on the teacher side, I'm going to click on, if I say family, I can see email family is the one that comes up. There are a bunch of ways to find things. You can use these little, you can use these little buttons here to sort, or you can just search in the search tools button. So I'm going to just type family again and get my family button to show up. The other thing that I just want to point out is I know a lot of people who use the class newsletter feature to automate writing, putting together their newsletters. And I noticed in the Padlet that people mentioned putting together newsletters, and this tool might be useful for helping do that too. So family email. And all you need to do is type in your name as the author and type in what you need to do, what you're trying to write your email about, and it will generate an email really quickly. So if I put in Stacy Lovedoll and I put in that student, I'm going to say that I'm the student. So Stacy is struggling. Let's just say I've been missing homework and I've been late to class. And I click generate, and it will put this together pretty quickly. But can you provide examples of Stacy's missed assignments? So it puts together your email. What strategies can we implement to help Stacy improve her punctuality? So it'll add suggestions for what you can add to it, or you can regenerate it to add more information if you would like to. You can make this shorter. Maybe that's too wordy for you. So, yeah, because people aren't going to read more than 2 sentences. So you can definitely change things up. Okay. And all of Magic School's generation buttons are set up very similarly. They're really easy to work with, and these are available on their free version. The next one I wanted to show you really quick is School AI. So this one, if you are on the slide that looks like this, you can click right on this little picture, and it'll take you over to a space, and you should be able to get in if I've relinked it correctly. This is a space that are created to help build self-regulation skills, and I thought you could experiment with it to see how it works from a student point of view. So for this one, just join with your name. So when you get that little code, when you click on that link, it'll ask you to join. And how's my day going so far? Maybe it's going bad. Okay, I'm not going to use my proper words like badly. And so the space will come back and it'll say, sorry to hear that. Would you like to play a game to feel better or hear a story? So I'm going to say, I want a story. And so I wrote this space to give kids a choice between playing a mindfulness game or hearing a story. And so my day is bad because I want to get settled and I don't want to type words. So I'm just going to say one. So hopefully it's going to know when I pick one that I want this. So it's going to tell me a story. And I don't want to read words. So I'm going to make it read out loud to me. Oops, wait a second. I wanted it to tell me it out loud. I clicked the wrong thing.
Once upon a time, there was a student named Alex. Every morning, Alex felt rushed and a little stressed getting ready for school.
So it's really good at reading out loud as well. So in School AI is a website that will help you create. It'll help you create chatbots for all sorts of things. So you can design chatbots very easily for things like self-regulation, academic strengths, even going through the FAFSA. They had one on there last year to help people with the FAFSA and make it a little bit less difficult to go through, wellness and more. It really is just limited by people coming up with an idea. It is designed for safety and privacy and K-12 education in mind. So they have a really good privacy policy and statement. So it is designed to be used with students, the chatbots are. So if your district is in the process of having their AI policies and guidelines put together and eventually becomes okay with having AI available for students, this might be one tool that is appropriate that they feel okay with using for students. When you get into the platform and you're signed in, you'll see spaces. You can discover spaces that are already created that you can then put into your account and use a code to give to students. So if you search wellness, you would see spaces that were already created, and then you can use the launch code to give those to students. You can also create your own spaces, and then there's another side of the site, which is tools and assistance, which is designed for workflow and efficiency. Here's an example of some of the types of spaces that can be created using School AI. So in addition to wellness and counseling and academic strength finders, School AI can also be used for tutoring and creating more academic type spaces as well. So if you are looking on the Wednesday webinar AI website for the state, or you're looking at any of the upcoming webinars that NC Ties is going to be doing, and you see one where we are teaching people how to create chatbots with School AI, that would be a session where you would actually go through the process of starting with an idea and then creating a chatbot from start to finish. The first time you go through it, it will talk about all of the steps. It really doesn't take a lot to create a chatbot, but we'll talk about exactly how to do it. And once you get the hang of it, you can create them for virtually any idea that you have for your students. Okay, we have a few more minutes, so I'm going to tell you a couple of more things. EduAid is very similar to Magic School, so I'm going to just let this one sit here and just say that if you're using Magic School, I would also highly recommend going over and checking out EduAid because they have a lot of really cool tools for creating products that are similar to behavior intervention plans. They're organized a little bit differently, but they are also a really good product for doing workflow and efficiency ideas for counselors. The next one that I want to show you, if you haven't heard of it, is called Goblin Tools. Goblin Tools is so easy to use and it's awesome. So I'm going to click on Goblin Tools. And it used to be called, or maybe it's still called, Magic to Do. It also has an app that you can put on an iPad or an iPhone, and it is so simple and easy to do. The first thing is that you can do is um, put in a list of tasks, and it will make them simpler. That's one of the things it can do. You can use Formalizer. You can add some text up here and turn your spicy thoughts into classy ones, or vice versa. So if you or a student has written something and you're thinking, how is this coming off? I would like to make it sound a little bit more formal or a little bit less, a little bit fun. You can make it more professional. You can make it more technical, more accessible. It gives you a little list of things, and it will do that for you with the click of a button. One of the ones that I love over here is the estimator. You can have kids type in everything on their agenda. I know in homeroom or academic academy, we used to have kids write down everything they had to do for the day or the week or whatever, and people have absolutely no idea how much time something's going to take, and it will estimate the amount of time it will take them to do. So Goblin Tools is an awesome tool to do, is an awesome website. And then the last one I want to point out before we have to go is Window Swap. Window Swap is just calming. I don't think there's anything AI about it, but it literally will give you a view out of somebody's window. And there's a different window every day. You can also go search for them, and they're all vetted so that they are all okay to see. So you don't have to worry about them. So those are really,
I'm in a meeting, getting ready to start.
and here's a quick little summary of all of the sites that we looked and kind of what they have to do and what their features are.
Oh, it's going to be like
And
12:30
I just
or
want
later. Do
to
you need
give
me
you
to
a
come see
quick
you
little
first?
call
Okay,
to
if they haven't started to
think
send that
about
meeting, I'll
how
run down
you
there first.
can use AI to help you do something a little bit faster, and then how you can also help you use AI to do things differently. I love this quote from Adil Khan, who is the founder of Magic School, and the core of teaching, educating, school counseling, everything that we do with kids is to spend more time with kids. So if AI can help us actually save some time so that we can do our jobs a little bit more face-to-face with our kids, then that's the kind of the point of it. This is a master resource of everything that we've talked about today, and then this one has it pared down to just wellness and counseling. So we put everything in here, so that's kind of one-stop shopping if you can get to that Padlet or that Wakelet. Vera's already dropped the feedback form into the chat, so please make sure you fill out that. That'll send you your CEUs, and we really value your feedback and especially what you would like to see coming up next. So we really appreciate it. This is the link to make a copy of the presentation, and thank you very much. We really appreciate you being here this morning.